She's April.
And she's Molly.
And we are
actually here. The Book Besties.
That's all you gotta do. British people, I got you.
I don't think that book crushes count.
Suck it up, Buttercup. We're done.
The show's over. We're done now.
Oh, the sex. So good.
I could have done with less sex.
Ah! Anita, man!
People deserve orgasms.
I'm a freaking sock, okay, Dad? I'm a sock. It's both of us!
Both of us!
Woo!
I took last week off.
And it felt good, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of gotten burned out. I had to read...
Girl, same.
I had to read for pod, for work, and for the con, which we attended as pod, but it was additional reading. And so I just really got burned out. And
on
then
all the books.
All the books. And then I actually I went to a concert last week.
Awesome.
Well, by the time this episode comes out, I guess it'll be 2 weeks, like a week and a half, something like that. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Yeah, I don't do math.
Well, my favorite musician ever is Andrew McMahon. I've been following his career.
Right behind you, right there.
Over your shoulder. Oh, right. Poster. I'm not sure that'll be in the shot.
There. He's right there.
Tom cuts it.
He's behind you.
I wish. So he's been my favorite musician for over 20 years. I've been following his first band, which was Something Corporate. And he was the lead singer and pianist and mostly the lyricist for the band. The band broke up and he did a solo project called Jack's Mannequin, which was like when I went from like, oh, I like this guy's sound to like, I love this guy's sound.
That's awesome.
Jack's Mannequin, I don't want to go into all the details, but there's a song by them. Jack's Mannequin is really Andrew McMahon, and then he's like, this is my backup band, and we'll just call it Jack.
Andrew McMahon and Jack's Mannequin.
Right. Which his current band is Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. So
it's the Andrew McMahon show. We got it.
Right. So one of his songs, which is The Resolution, has become like my life anthem. And I don't want to go into the details about why, but I actually got to meet Andrew McMahon before the concert. My friend Dana and I, shout out to Dana. We got VIP passes. And I didn't think she would want to do the VIP because she doesn't know him. But she was like, yeah, he's your favorite musician. Let's go. It's fine. Whatever.
That's awesome.
And so I met him and I told him my struggles with mental health and why his music has meant so much to me. And the first thing he said was not, oh, thank you for loving my music. I appreciate the support. The first thing he said was, are you okay now? And I just feel like I met one of my heroes. That is so sweet. I met one of my heroes and he wanted to make sure that I was doing the things to keep my mental health in check. And like,
that's beautiful.
It was freaking awesome.
That is
like, I am
beautiful.
Yeah.
I cried. So sweet. And it shows that he's a
freaking baby.
It shows how much of a good human he is, right? That his music, sometimes there are famous people and they put out this beautiful, heartwarming stuff, be it work, writing, music, whatever. And it turns out they're trash can human beings. So it's really nice when it pans out and you meet a celebrity and they're just as beautiful as you thought they were in real life. It is. Yeah. That's lovely.
And when he played that song during the concert, which I did not expect him to, but when he played the song during the concert, we were in the front row, standing in the front row. Terrible idea for my hips. Awful.
Obviously.
He looked up and nodded at me. And I was just like, he fucking remembered.
He thought of you.
It was so cool.
He thought of you. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I have his autograph on the poster that's behind me, and he has a journal that has lyrics from his songs in it, and they were like writing prompts for journals, and
that's beautiful.
He wrote my name in it, and I was just like, I can't believe this day is real. Like it was remarkable. So
That's
having a break from
beautiful.
reading and being able to like go to that concert and just focus on that, like I
Just
needed it.
so soothing.
It was
Soothing.
great. It was
It's
great.
wonderful. Well, my week has not been as exciting.
I
I
know.
finished. I finished um the new season of Fab Five of the Queer Eye.
Oh, I don't watch it. You talking about the one that's on Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Um,
watched a few episodes of that one, and I watched a few episodes of it when it used to be on TV, but I'm just not really a follower of it.
I like it because it's light. JVN makes my heart happy. They're funny and they're just
I don't know
epper.
who that is.
JVN is Jonathan Van Ness. They're
Is he
non-binary.
is they the one with the
Long, yeah,
is
long
they
hair.
are they the one with the long hair?
With the beard and
Okay,
yes.
yeah, I know who
Well,
that is.
they so the last episode, the only reason I'm talking about this is because this last episode sat with me for only one reason. Jonathan gets this um person, their hero, because they call them heroes, right? He gets the hero in the chair, okay?
Mhm.
And they're gonna do their hair, to the man's hair, and JVN goes, honey! And he loses his shit and he goes, what is going on with your knees? The guy's knees, he's Caucasian like you and I, the guy's knees are chocolate brown. Come to find out, he has a buildup of skin there. Jonathan had to get exfoliant and was making the man scrub his knees while they were doing his hair. He's like, this is a
So
genetic thing. And like, the guy, he's like sitting there scrubbing his knees this whole episode. And I'm like,
so it's like having ashy elbows, but it was knees?
it, it was awful. And all I could do was like keep pulling my leg up to check my knees. I was like, are my knees brown? Do I not wash my knees well? How often am I supposed to be washing my knees? Are we supposed to be exfoliating our knees? I have a lot of questions now, JVN.
I mean, I guess does he do work where he's on his knees a lot? Like is he a
He
plumber or
he owns
something?
a deli.
Well then that I don't get it.
I don't either. It was weird. Like the rest of him was clean. He was a clean man. He just I know.
I don't know how to feel about this.
I don't either. Why do you think it's on my head so much?
Oh my gosh.
Would you rather talk about this week's book?
Sure, I would rather talk about
Other than a buildup of dead skin cells on your knees.
I don't know how to transition from that, Molly. Okay.
I don't either.
This week we are reading Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. And Anita Kelly uses they, them pronouns. And Anita, I just want to say I've been on your Instagram. We follow you on there. I commented a few of your things. I really want us to make sure that we are gendering you correctly. So we're going to use they, them. But London talks about this in here. Accidents happen. I do not want you to be offended. We are going to do our best to be respectful of the they, them pronouns. Mm-hmm. We're not doing it because we don't like it or whatever. So
she lives in the Poconos.
They live in the Poconos. See,
damn it! You just literally said that. I am so sorry.
In California. I thought
this says okay. This is I'm on their website. I'm on their website. I'm trying so hard. I swear, guys.
Of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And they're a teen librarian. So
I saw that.
You know, I feel that in my soul because I'm a children's librarian, and in my library system, we don't have a teen librarian. We have one at one location, and then the rest of us that are children's librarians, we do all the ages. So,
fine.
All right. So, synopsis.
By
the way, I was very proud of your synopsis last week.
Thank you. I wrote it just for you, by the way. I wrote it knowing you were going to listen.
Don't feel like you need to do that.
No, I love impressing you.
It
is one of my goals in my life is to impress you.
I don't know why.
Your opinion of me matters.
Yes, but I'm going to love you anyway.
Right, but I'd love you to love. But I'd love you to love me more.
Okay, well, okay. Dahlia's life is a mess.
Word.
She needs to win the home cooking competition chef special to pay down her debt from her recent divorce. London has big dreams of starting a nonprofit for LGBTQ youth. the $100,000 prize for winning Chef Special would make amazing startup money. The only thing that stands in both of their ways is the incredible complicated attraction they have to each other and the other contestants. Of course.
Of course.
London being out as non-binary on national television is huge for their community. Dahlia's sweet demeanor and general happy nature make her a good companion, but neither person could predict that their friendship would blossom quickly into an intimate one. But we could, because it's a rom-com. The first one for Dahlia outside of her ex-husband, and the first for London since they came out 3 years ago. As the competition heats up, so does the sex. Both lead up to the season finale, and no one will forget.
Oh, the sex.
The sex was
so good.
So I don't, before we jump into questions, I don't know if this is conclusive that you can no longer say that I don't like the lesbian books, because London is non-binary and pan, so I don't know if it counts, but they both have vaginas.
I have the big, okay, so my identity is fluid, but I've always known 2 genders. Well, London is making me question that. I have the biggest crush on London.
I don't think Bush. Oh my gosh. Bush. That changes the sentence completely.
I mean, a bush crush does count. If you crush on a bush.
I don't think that book crushes count.
Oh.
I do. I feel like I have a book crush on a lot of people. Like, I have a fucking book crush on Katniss, and that's
that's not power though.
She's a teenager. And
she's a child. Yeah. Child. Well, at the beginning,
more,
I guess at the end,
more such a strong feeling of like, I don't know. It's not an attraction. Damn. It's harder to explain it. I'm not like attracted to her. You know what I mean? But all right. So I want to start by talking about the writing in this book, but I do want to give a preface. So Anita Kelly, we've already said, uses they, them pronouns, and they wrote this one. First book that I've read with a non-binary character in it. And yeah, I was thinking it was for you as well. So we're going to have an honest discussion about the book and the writing. But neither of us is in a place to judge anyone for their sexuality or their gender identity. Both Molly and I identify as female. We were also born female. So we're not Lizzieing here. If you've read the book, you know who Lizzie is. We're not doing that.
We're not Lizzie. We
are going to judge the contents of the book. Word. And that's what we do every week here at Book Besties. We have given this like same little, like
breakdown.
Yeah. What is it that I want to say?
Disclaimer.
There we go. That's the word. We've given the same disclaimer when we've done other LGBTQ books and when we've done books that feature people of color or differently abled books, because that's not where we live. Although Molly is neurodivergent and so am I, that doesn't necessarily mean that we understand the struggles of every neurodivergent person.
No, and I mean, just because I fall in the queer rainbow doesn't mean I understand the plight of everybody that's queer.
Right, exactly. So with all of that said, and that's the only time I'm adding this disclaimer, guys. So please have heard it.
And this is it. Suck it up, Buttercup. We're done.
Now we're going to talk about the meat and potatoes of the book. Okay, so what did you think of their writing?
I like her style. I like her style a lot. We'll talk about this more. She is more character heavy than she is setting heavy. Mm-hmm. And her balance in writing she is more concerned with character development as a writer. They are more concerned mm-hmm. with character development as a writer than they are about setting. Yeah. You'll see at times in this book where they choose to focus on setting up our characters instead of setting a scene.
Yeah.
And there are times where I was like, I wish X, Y, and Z was in here, or X, Y, and Z was in here.
Yeah, and I agree, and we're going to talk about the setting in a minute too, but I think that there were definitely some holes in this book, but I cannot say that the verbiage, that the like actual text
Yeah.
I can't complain about it.
No,
I mean,
no.
there's a lack of setting, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. There's maybe some cliches, but the writing itself is really solid. And this was their first book, and it's the first time that I'm really seeing a non-binary book that's having so much like publicity. Like
Yeah.
it's one that I actually was recommended from, well, I don't know that Janice necessarily recommended it. She was reading it and I was like, I want to read that too. So
It's good.
yeah. So I did struggle initially with the they them pronoun usage for London, because it's different when you're reading it than when you're like talking about somebody. So like I know a non-binary person who uses they them pronouns, and when I talk about them, it's very easy to talk about them and use them and use them and use
Mhm.
them. But when you're reading it, the context of you have
Yes.
these two characters here. So are you talking about London or are
Them
you talking
or
about the two of them
them?
together? Right. So that was tricky. It did take me a
Mhm.
few chapters to like get into it. I was reading the physical copy. I don't know if it would have been different if I were reading the
Um,
audio.
okay, so for the audiobook, it was peculiar for the ear.
Okay.
So I knew the author was talking about London,
Mm-hmm.
but when they or them was written
Uh-huh.
as in context towards
Yeah.
London, my brain was like, what did they say?
Right.
Right? And it
Right.
took several chapters for my brain to go, oh, the author means this, this, and this.
Right.
And I had to adjust, right? Because I'm not used to using a third set of pronouns when I'm speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
am I use primary pronouns because in my life,
Right.
the people in my life are she, her. I don't have a lot of they, thems in my
Right.
life.
Right.
So the people that do use those pronouns, I'm gonna shake the as just gets okay. Um Using those pronouns were more difficult for my brain to process because I'm not using them as frequently. I don't know if I could get any more pronouns into that speech. I
I totally
she,
understand.
her, they, she, her, they, he, him.
I totally understand what you're saying, and by the way, I don't know how I understand what you're saying because that was a whole lot of fucking nonsense. But um,
It also made complete sense. Thank you.
but yeah, I really did feel like at the beginning I had difficulty with that, and I feel like what I was doing was forcing myself to reread they. So instead of saying in my head they, I would say they, almost
Yeah.
like I needed to remind myself we're talking about London.
We're
They,
highlighting it.
yeah,
Highlight.
yeah, and so I really would like my inner monologue would like raise my voice in my head to read
It's London,
they
damn it, it's
louder when it was
London.
London. And I was like, well, this is just an interesting way to live my life. And I probably should unpack that in therapy. I don't know. Um,
I got this. It's fine. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it.
so let's talk about the setting. I know both of us had some issues with the setting. So why don't you go ahead and start with it?
My frustration. This is my bell of this book.
Mm-hmm.
We are in, as a reader, one of the settings everybody knows.
I mean, they even talk about it in the
Everyone
book, right? They even talk about it in the book.
everyone watches cooking shows. Everyone. And
Yeah.
for their name is Kelly. The author's name is Kelly, right?
Anita Kelly.
Anita Kelly. Okay. So for Anita to just gloss over this stuff,
Yeah.
especially when it's such a predominant setting and it's such an iconic setting, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't get this kind of setting a lot in books. So
Right.
you're doing something unique. Okay?
Right.
Let's put aside that it's a female non-binary relationship. Let's put aside the fact that it's a competition. You were
Right.
in a TV set.
Right.
Okay? We don't get that a lot on in
Right.
this. You need to be descriptive. You need to give us those background noises. You need to give us the
Right.
PAs running around. You need to
Right.
give us the chaos because that's what is happening there.
Right. And
It
I feel like Anita Kelly relied too much on the fact that we would know what a cooking show looked
that
like. instead of like telling us what this cooking show looked like. So
Right.
like early in the reading, when we were both pretty early in it, we were texting each other, and you had said something about having a problem with the setting, and I said I just kept picturing MasterChef because it's a, you know,
and I was picturing Chopped,
and you were picturing Chopped, and it was like it's a home cooks competition, but they have
right?
those on like the what's it, the
Great British
yeah,
Bake Off. Yeah.
yeah, like there's a lot of home chef challenges. And so what does it look like? I don't know. I think they were trying to set it up to be more like MasterChef, in my opinion, because there was the like British guy who was like really
Yeah.
snotty, which I just
But he wasn't British.
but he might not have been British. Like, I don't know. It just like somehow there wasn't a clarity of what the fuck was actually happening.
It feels like they had a clear idea of where they wanted the story to go. The
Mm-hmm.
characters, they knew their characters, they knew their people, they knew everything, but they
Mm-hmm.
didn't know the setting, and they
Yeah.
didn't know how to fill out the setting. Or maybe they didn't want to fill out the setting and they wanted to be character heavy.
Right.
I don't know their intentions, but what I do know is there was a divide here for the author, and they made a choice and
Mm-hmm.
stuck to it throughout,
Right.
because no matter where we are in this book, spoiler alert, one of them goes home. When they
Mm-hmm.
do go home, we don't even feel that out, right?
Right. Yeah, actually, I do
I'm thinking,
kind of
yeah.
disagree with you on that, Molly, because I do think that they try to flush out parts of the setting, and we're just not prepared for them.
Mm,
Because I want to use the example of, you know, where Dahlia actually gets sent home, and she has that
yeah.
final interview, and she mentions like looking at that glass vase, the blue
Yeah.
vase, and wondering how she could have something like that set up in her home. And that is the very first time that we have a description of what the space where they filmed their solo interviews looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, let's be honest. Setting isn't everything in a story. There are some stories that rely very heavily on the story. If you're reading fantasy, world building is essential. If you're reading our good friend Chesy's latest book, Grey Miss Fair, she had to build the forest for us.
Yes.
The forest has to be a character. Wild Oak by Cece Harrington. We met Christina at the con, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I talked to her about was how I appreciated that the forest Wild Oak became its own character. Grey's Anatomy, the elevator is a character. Anita Kelly did not create her
Discovery Witches.
exactly
The Bishop House.
Yes. Anita Kelly did not create a character setting, but she didn't give us enough of a setting at all. And that is also my biggest complaint about this book.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like I needed more of that.
I loved these characters.
Mm-hmm.
I was attached to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Babs. I loved everyone. And for me to give this a 4-star, a 3.5-star rating, like in that range, because it was missing so much, was frustrating for me, because that gap in setting really downgraded the book for me, if that makes sense.
I gave this a 4 and
that's where I settled,
and would have given it a 4.5 if they would have fleshed out the setting.
Me too.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
All right. So Dahlia is incredibly down on her luck. She's
Dahlia.
given up her job for a shot at becoming the winner of Chef's Special. By the way, I should never write notes at the pool again on my phone, because these have so many typographical errors in it. I mean, it's just like bad.
Like, the sun's in. That looks like a word.
Well, I had my sunglasses on, and I can't really see my phone with my sunglasses on, so I was definitely typing without glasses. So what do you think? Ooh, good choice. What do you think of Dahlia and her character development in this book?
I like Dahlia. We're getting a real broken character. We are getting a character who is searching. We are getting a character who doesn't know who she is. And we slowly get development with Dahlia.
Yeah.
I had issues in her ending story and like where she ended up and stuff. Right. As much as Dahlia loved LA and how much she felt seen and felt and warm and like enjoying the crowd. Yeah. She fell in love with LA. She belonged. She should have ended up there.
I mean, I don't totally disagree. Nashville's a pretty busy city too. She
Right.
could get the busy still.
Right. But
I actually really appreciated that she didn't have one job at the end. She had like 4 and still couldn't fucking decide what she wanted to do.
Girl, same.
I
Girl, same.
was like, this feels appropriate for her.
I have no idea what I'm doing in my life. I'm working on it.
I love the description of her, like her physical appearance.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like under her clothes. I mean the idea that she has this mop of thick, crazy, dark hair and those brown eyes, and that she's just like curvy and voluptuous and just hot. I mean, like, I love that description of her. I have a really hard time of picturing someone that has hair down to their butt because that just feels like, no.
Unnecessary.
Why would you want that? But her character development. So we talked about in Well Met how I didn't think it was good that that Emily decided to not go to college and just decided to basically do a thing for a guy again. Like that's what she was. And in this book, I feel like Anita wrote Dahlia to get to make a choice. She chose London, but I don't think she did it only for love. I think choosing London was also her choosing herself for the first time.
It was, she saw a future, a real future. And with her ex, you could see she never saw future. She was going along with the flow, right? She saw, with London, she saw a path forward. She saw them getting old. She saw them being, you know, the weird auntie and whatever, you know, London picks as a moniker for that. But she saw a path forward that was a life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And while we do bag on the character that just changes their life for a partner, this wasn't Dahlia.
That was it.
This wasn't for London, like most of those characters do. This was for Dahlia.
This was for her.
And hell, London was really ready to follow her. London was going to pack up everything and go to Massachusetts.
Sure, I don't care. We'll go to the place that you don't love, but I'll go there with you. It's fine.
Because I want to be with you. Right. That's the person you need in your life, kiddies. Right. That's the person you need in your life. I'm following you.
I also thought it was a very smart choice to make Dahlia queer because of exactly what London asked her. London asked her, are you straight? And they asked her that question because London doesn't want to be an experiment.
No.
They don't want Dahlia to be like, I'm going to dip my toes into this queer world. And and London didn't want to like flip somebody. London wanted to be loved for who they were.
Right.
And if Dahlia would have been,
for me.
Yeah. If Dahlia would have been identifying as straight, and then I just feel like that would have brought in another layer of complication that this book didn't need. And so I thought it was really smart. And I also really appreciated that, like, the only person that Dahlia has been with is a man, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't know who she is.
Exactly.
And I think
just because I identify as queer and I've only slept with men doesn't make me less queer. Exactly. It does not take away my queerness.
Something that people use as an excuse, like, well, how do you know you're gay? You've only been with dudes.
Well, like, but then the flip side of that, right? Right. How many times has a lesbian heard, well, maybe you just haven't slept with the right man? You know, like, gross.
Right.
Gross.
Right.
Like, we're gross on both sides, guys. We're gross on both sides.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many lesbians on TikTok that talk about flipping women. No, that's predatory.
That happened in one of the books that we read. I'm not even going to name the title because that's the one that we quit and we didn't cover. That happens in there.
Predatory.
Yeah, exactly. What was I watching the other day that somebody said that their father went to school with Freddie Mercury, and what he said he was best at was flipping straight men. I was watching something. Oh my gosh. I don't even remember what Tom and I were watching, but it was definitely like...
Was that like a documentary?
British people. No, it was like humor thing.
Oh, British people.
British people.
British people.
I can't remember.
That's all you got to do. British people. I got you.
I just remember thinking, oh shit. That's funny. It was Ted Lasso.
Oh, we're behind.
It was the last season. I think it was the season finale of Ted Lasso.
Oh, we're behind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Rebecca says that her dad went to school with Freddie Mercury, and what he says Freddie claimed to be best at was flipping string guys. Anyway.
That's a Rebecca line. That's a Rebecca line.
That's awesome. All right, so London is out on national television as non-binary. They never really make it clear if London is out as pansexual as well, or if it's just that they are out as using they, them pronouns.
I think that's a big step on its own.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But we don't actually, this is a complaint of mine, we don't actually hear that London is pansexual until like really close to the end of the book. It's like, okay, that's...
Oh, by the way, we know you're assuming she's queer, but we'll give you a title to it.
Well, sorry, I'm diverting from this question here, but this happens like when their dad is like,
her dad,
so does that
their
mean,
dad, yeah.
Does that mean that like you're a lesbian now because you're with a girl? And she's like, or they are like, no, I'm not.
That's not how any of this works.
I'm pansexual. I don't care about gender. So anyway, so London's out on national television. This has created a new interest in the show, and not all of the attention is positive. Mm-mm. What do you think about London and their character development?
I'm surprised that this is like the first time the show's ever had anybody out before.
I don't think that it's that someone was out. I think it's someone was out as non-binary, because I have watched a shit ton of cooking shows, and let me tell you, every single episode of Chopped, there's somebody who's LGBTQ on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, every single episode.
Every single episode.
All the episodes.
But I think once London came out, and I can't remember the character's name, and that character was Lizzie was actively like vicious towards her and nasty towards her. Mm-hmm. They knew what they were doing, right? Mm-hmm. The show knew what they were doing from there on out. Mm-hmm. They singled those two out, and them being talented definitely helped, but they singled those two out and made sure that the path went forward for that. So London really didn't get to choose how their story went on the TV.
Right.
And that is so much, it is so resemblant of their life, right? London kind of is quiet about their life. They have a twin, but their parents pay for everything. Like, they're just going, they're coasting. They're not going out. They're not trying to date. They're not trying to find a partner. It's very much a symbol for how London is in real life.
Right.
And they have a lot of growth in this.
And they don't even know what they would want to be called in the context of a relationship.
No.
Because their dad asks, like, so are you like her girlfriend? And she's like, no, I'm not a girl. So
I don't know what we are.
But I don't know what we would call it, because we haven't even told each other how we feel yet. So
I'm a freaking sock. Okay, Dad? I'm a sock.
I thought one of the things I have to say I appreciate, because I know this came up on your episode last week with Leslie. The Christian community gets a lot of flack for
they do,
for hating on LGBTQ, and truthfully, it's not all warranted. I'm not going to say that there aren't Christians that are opposed to the LGBT community. My experience is that they're more opposed to kids being exposed to it, because why should kids know about sexuality when they're 6? Like, I kind of understand that. Like, my 7-year-old doesn't like girls or boys right now. All people are icky. I just want to play on the playground with the person I want to play on the playground with. Like, why does it matter?
My 14-year-old's hierarchy: books, girls, boys.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's so I kind of understand that. But they did not define Lizzie in this book as a Christian, and that's why she was the way that she was. And I have to say, I really applaud that, because there are many
person. Lizzie's just a hateful person.
She was. And there are many religious groups that do not support LGBTQ. It's not just Christians. I mean,
Christians just take the heat a lot.
It's against a lot of religious practices, and there are just people who are assholes. And it doesn't matter what they believe religiously or politically. They just hate because they hate.
Because they have nothing else in their heart.
Right. So I liked that Lizzie was not defined that way, that she was just an awful old lady. Like, although
Awful
maybe
old
that
lady.
defines her as a generational issue. I don't know.
I mean, it could be. I mean,
But then we did have the other person,
Barbara,
Barbara, who was like also
Babs.
that generation and was like totally different. So
She's just like, go get
mhm.
you some.
she's
Like,
like,
she's like,
she's like, London doesn't want to be just your Facebook or your Instagram friend. Like, you need to get your shit together.
are you seeing how she looks at you or not?
Right. All right, so I want to have a discussion, and I've already told you that we're going to talk about this. I do not have a question. I just want to talk about consent and
Yeah,
how the intimate relationship is handled here.
so
Because
good.
so good. Because you and I, we both have talked about this off pod, so we're going to share it with our listeners. We never thought about what kind of struggle would be present when you're a person who feels like your genitalia does not define or does not match what you believe your
No,
gender to be. So, what
no.
would that look like sexually? Now, I actually it reminded me of, I mean, very small reminder. I watched the show Shameless for a few
Hmm.
years, and at one point, there is one of the Gallagher kids is gay,
Yeah.
and he
Ian,
has
not Ian.
Ian. Yes, he has a partner, a boyfriend who is
Who
trans.
was in the Volturi?
Not that one, a different one.
Oh,
But
okay.
yes, not the Volturi. He was one of the.
He ends up being his husband, by the way. They
I
get
know,
married in
but
that show.
I know they do, but no, he's not in the Volturi. He's in like that other.
Oh, the
They're the
Egyptian
really
one, the
they're the
old
really old
ones.
ones from Transylvania.
Yeah. Oh,
Anyway,
that's at Transylvania, not Egypt.
yeah. So he has a boyfriend who is transgender, and when they are intimate for the first time, um, the boyfriend, not Ian, I cannot remember his name, but the boyfriend wants to be the top.
Mess. Yes.
I don't know
In
how to say it.
control.
And
Driving the ship.
Ian's kind of like, but you don't have a dick. Like, how are you going to be? And he's like, well, I have attachments, so I
I'll let you
still
pick.
do this. So, I mean, there was that small there, but it was
Mhm.
never really like flushed out. But I want to talk about the way it's flushed out here. So,
It's
what did you have to say about that?
um well, first, I have no idea what it feels like to not feel safe in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it feels like to wake up every morning and look down and not feel like this shit belongs.
Right.
And so to kick off there, we have no idea how every morning you wake up and she'll function every day that way.
Right.
That is brave and bold and bravo, King. Bravo.
Right.
But I think she did a really good job at giving us clarity as outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that was very intimate between two characters that are figuring their shit out,
Right.
right? Both of them are new to this experience, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, London hasn't been with anybody since they came out,
As
and
non-binary.
as non-binary,
Right.
right? So we don't know how London feels personally
Mm-hmm.
about their autonomy and their
Mm-hmm.
body. And so for London to initiate consent as they went was setting the tempo, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of wild for these two because
Mm-hmm.
while they're initiating consent and talking about it and talking through every step of sex, these fuckers don't talk at all about their relationship.
I know. Gosh.
What fucking idiots. You can be one of the hardest things in the
You
world to have a
probably didn't
conversation.
also talk about the fact that you probably will not be in the same place in a few days. Like, come on.
There is a chance one of you is getting kicked off tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like,
And I don't know if it's because Dahlia has a transgender brother, if maybe she was more like apt to ask those questions. But when she asked London, can I touch you and where can I touch you? And London's response is, you can touch me anywhere. Like, I think about like when we're intimate with our husbands, for example, like we know what feels good on a woman's body, right?
I don't
I
ask
mean,
Matt. I just touch Matt. I don't think about it.
I'm talking about us being touched, okay?
Oh,
We know what feels good to be touched on our bodies, right?
yes.
Well, even though London does not identify as a female, that is the parts that they have. They're wearing a
Yeah.
binder. They still have a vagina.
That's gotta hurt,
So,
man.
so, oh, I know. I can't imagine
I
crushing
I I
my boobs
mean,
all day, every day.
damn. But good
But
for you for feeling like yourself.
well, I have a comment on that in just a second.
Yeah.
Um, but I think we know what would feel good, but maybe London's not comfortable with that. Maybe she doesn't want to feel good being touched in those areas, or they don't want to feel good being touched in those areas because they don't want to acknowledge that those parts exist of them, right? And so for Dahlia to say, I want to make sure that I'm doing what you want, that she's letting London set the pace, that she's letting London
control the intimacy.
right. And for all intents and purposes, the way that sex has been portrayed in schools and through history, the man is the leader of the sex, right?
Right. The driving force. Yeah.
You look at wildlife. The women aren't mounting the girls are not mounting the boys. Like it's the other way. So if you're dealing with somebody who's non-binary or transgender or whatever, or you're a lesbian couple, who gets to be the leader of that sexual encounter? We can't think of it as like the penis gets to drive it because there was no penis there.
No, I guess we go to alpha. Who's the boss? Who's the boss?
But I do want to say, you brought up, excuse me, I forgot my water today.
That's okay.
You brought up London, how painful it would be for them to be doing binding of their chest every day. And we had a question that we actually texted Nurse Katie because London microdoses testosterone. And like,
yeah.
I'd never heard of that before. I had only ever heard about transgender men, women to men, transgender, that they were taking testosterone to stop puberty, to stop their femininity, and to transition to men.
Yeah.
So Katie actually,
get hair,
she had no idea either. So she did send us some links, and I found one as well, and I will put it in the comments below or in the description below.
Super interesting to read if you're interested at all.
Right. But basically, the microdosing would allow London to slowly stop the hormone process that was completely estrogen and to become more masculine, but not necessarily become a man.
Right.
So
it's to balance the features.
Right.
It's to give a neutral feel.
But then, like, this book had me totally thinking about like larger picture, which I guess good for Anita.
It's awesome because it made us think.
I started thinking about Hell's Kitchen, which is a show that I watched every once in a while. Like I've watched it on and off over the years, but they have a girls team and a boys team, and dorms in college, they have girls rooms and boys rooms, and like now that we have an increase in people defining themselves as non-binary and an increase in people defining themselves as transgender much younger, like what do those look like now? Like how do you rectify that?
I know in Houston, they go with your birth identification.
I'm not surprised about that because I don't know how you would be able to rectify.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's muddy, right? It's muddy. And look, my choices are my choices. And whatever I decide to do and whatever my children decide to do is their lives. How it affects you doesn't matter until my kids and your kids have to interact. So if my daughter I'm not saying my daughter is trans, but if my daughter was trans, and she got sent to university with, say you have a daughter, and you're not comfortable with that, how do we rectify that, right? Because now that's on the school's dollar. Does the school say, all right, we'll make a dorm just for the trans kids? Or it becomes...
I mean, it's a continuous issue in prisons as well.
Yeah. I mean, they shove trans females in male prisons all the time, and they're constantly abused. This isn't going to be fixed in a day, by the way.
Unless they've actually had gender
reassignment surgery.
Is it gender confirmation or is it gender affirmation? I don't remember, but unless you've had the gender part
reassignment
surgery, you can't.
Gender reassignment surgery.
I don't think that's what they call it anymore. I want to say they call it gender confirmation now.
Gender. I'm looking it up.
But unless you've had that, you have to be in the prison that is of your
affirmation. Gender
so
affirmation.
I knew it was either confirmation.
Thank you for correcting me.
No,
gender
that's okay.
affirmation.
I knew it was different, but unless you've had that done, you can't be in a prison with people that you identify with. So
it's just rough. It's rough. We're sorry, guys. We don't do this to you, but we're sorry. I'm sorry.
We didn't do it to you, but we can also try to make the world easier for you to navigate.
We're trying. We're raising the next gen.
I'm raising 2 boys to be feminists. Like,
I keep telling Matt, he's a feminist by proxy. He has to be. He's raising daughters.
It's just in our house, we tell the boys that we're raising them to be men and not boys. We're raising men. And Tom and I both agree that men respect women. What a concept.
Shocking.
So, all right. So let's talk about the conflict with Lizzie. Because I had some issues with this. So at the beginning of the book, we find out Lizzie does not support London's pronouns. About 3/4 of the way through the book, then we learn that Lizzie and London are predicted to be the final 2. What did you think about this? Yeah, I concur.
Come on! If this is going to be our main problem in the book, make it our main problem in the book. Yes. Make Lizzie a mega bitch. Make her say shitty things. Make her the mega bitch she is. Don't dust it in.
Make her be the person that tells Dahlia, you fell, so all you can do is make hummus.
Dust it in there.
Why are you bringing in other characters?
And if you're going to give me all these fucking characters, I need development, man. Yes. I need a world built out. You can't do this to me.
I don't know that this book could have been longer because it didn't need to be, but
just a little bit. Give me more setting.
I'm going to say something to be surprised here. I could have done with less sex if she would have built, or if they would have built up the world and the characters better.
You shut up right now. The sex is fantastic in this book.
But the sex was good.
Respectfully, fuck you. That book was spicy. And it was a perfect amount of spice.
It wasn't written to be erotica. It was written to be a rom-com. So
I know! Setting! Anita, man!
All right.
Come on!
Both Dahlia and London have complicated families. Do you have any comments on their families?
I don't believe her dad for a second. I don't fucking believe, not her, London's. I don't believe their dad for a second. It glossed over it.
I don't know that he ever fully accepted that London was queer or that London was using.
He didn't want a divorce. But he didn't want to lose his
family. And you know what, Molly? I've got to respect that. Okay? At least he's fucking trying. He was only pushing back before.
Right. That's growth. The man, I say this all the time. It's a Molly quote on here. The man needs therapy.
Yes.
If you are not willing to change, find somebody. But you want change, you need to find somebody that's going to help you make the change.
Right. I do not believe the story of Dahlia's mom coming to visit her, and I don't believe Dahlia's mom being like, I was jealous of you. No, I don't believe any of that.
The smallest of bullshit flags.
I don't even know that it should be a small one. Like, it just didn't, it was a this for me. All right, so the ending. All right. It's after a totally predictable breakup. London and Lizzie are in the finale. Of course they are. And Dahlia has come back to support London.
Because the producers picked it.
You know what's funny? Side note. If you do watch shows like MasterChef, watch the credits at the end because it will say to you that parts of the show were influenced by the production. And shows like MasterChef and sorry to put this out there, guys, but America's Got Talent, they recruit for their shows.
They absolutely do.
So
I've auditioned for the Great American Bake Off in little known fact, you know this, but the Book Besties don't know this. I auditioned, what was it, 2014 for the Great.
It was I don't think it was
Lakes.
that long ago, was it?
I lived in the League City house.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I was doing Lula then.
Okay, so it
So,
must have been. It
run,
must have been
yeah.
Ohio.
Yeah. But I auditioned for the Great American Bake Off, which
Mhm.
is a spin-off of the Great British Bake
Right,
Off.
right,
They air it during Christmas
right,
on like ABC or something. I
right.
have not applied since then. I still get production calls.
Yeah, I
I
auditioned for American Idol, the
mhm.
season that Jordan Sparks won,
Uh-huh.
and um, yeah, reality television is not real, guys. It's not
No.
real.
No. If they're
There,
still
there,
calling me
there are script writers for your favorite reality shows that are not competition.
Survivor. Have you seen in the bottom things of
I'm not even
Survivor?
talking about the competition ones. I'm talking about the ones that aren't. I'm talking about things like The Osbournes. That
Yeah,
show had
some
script
of the
writers.
show is scripted. It is on
Yes.
the bottom. It's in the end
Yeah.
credits. They say it with a little disclaimer,
Right.
with a little asterisk. Some of this show has been scripted.
And you're telling me, going back to this book, that challenge winners where they got to pick somebody to give an advantage and somebody to give a disadvantage. You're telling me that that wasn't specifically strategic to pin Lizzie and London against each other? No,
Bullshit.
that was devised by the producers of the show to make
To really put
that,
a fork in that road. Yeah.
because they saw that's what the public was appealing to. They were
Oh,
Team
yeah. They
Lizzie or
saw the
they were
social
Team
media blow
London.
up and they were like,
Exactly.
yeah, let's go
Exactly.
for it.
So, like, did you feel this ending was cliche? Was it appropriate, predictable, but good? Like, what did you think?
I, they belong together. I
Hmm.
don't discount Dahlia and London being together. They
Yeah,
do belong together.
yeah, I
I
agree.
just I don't like that London just moved there for frickin' London. It just doesn't feel I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good. It was like "Meh, meh," for me.
I Okay. I thought the ending was too drag out. And the whole part about her cooking dinner and London eating it and all of that was
Mhm.
really,
Like, I don't
really,
care. Why are we back at the set?
to me. Well, first of all, I kept going, how did they fuck did they get back in the set? You just telling me that they just like left the door open, they let
Those
Delia do whatever the fuck
producers
she
didn't
wanted? No.
like Dahlia that much.
No, they would have. Well, I don't think that was the problem. They did like her. I think they'd have been stripping the set because something else would have been filming there, like the very next day. Like, no, they're not leaving the kitchen up.
Turnover. They're in the middle of the writer's strike too. They have nothing to put up.
So, I don't know. I actually thought what would have been a better ending was just like the at the words
Words.
after London won. I thought it would have been a better ending if they just ran over and kissed Dahlia. And
Yeah.
that was what people saw on TV. And I actually think that I thought it was leading that way because that would be London like really being truly out and America seeing there's this girl that we did not know was queer, but some people might have been rooting for the two of them. And now here they are, they're admitting they're together.
I know.
And then I think that that meal would have been more appropriate as an epilogue in their house.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Like
a
in their
spin-off
house.
show.
Yeah, or
Shoot me a
something.
spin-off reality
But
show
I
with those
don't
two.
feel like we got
That would be
closure
freaking
about
adorable.
London's dad, and I don't feel like we really got closure on any of Dahlia's stories other than she moved. Like I just feel like it just kind of ended. Okay,
And
so
what's
show's over, we're done now.
it's just frustrating. They gave us all this character development and we kept
Mhm.
having to remember that they had these big families, but they didn't pull the families in as much as they should
Right,
have to make us remember them. So
right.
it's like I
And
have a
and
lot of frustrations here.
and
And
they
while I
built up.
loved this book, I was frustrated a lot too.
I agree. And that's something we talk about on this pod a lot as well. Like we criticize books that we really love
Yeah.
because every book can be criticized. I mean, look, I love To Kill a Mockingbird. I can see issues with it. You love
Hmm.
Discovery Wishes. You can still see issues with it. Does that mean we won't go to our graves defending it? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I will die on that hill defending To Kill a
Those are
Mockingbird.
going to my, they're going to be cremated with me. I'm going to just hold them and just,
Okay, that's an
okay,
odd request, but
they're
that's
mine.
what you want. That's what you want.
You don't want to be buried with Twilight?
Do you think I like Twilight more than To Kill a Mockingbird?
Well, I mean, you're going to have other books in there, but I'm assuming you're going
I
to
don't
want
want
your
to be buried with
very
anything.
But what if you get bored?
Molly, that's not what I believe happens after death.
I know. I know.
Just, it's fine. I'm gone.
Okay.
Whatever. Okay, that's
totally off topic. My bad.
I don't really have anything else to say. I really enjoyed this book. I did give it a 4 out of 5. I honestly have to say I'm very thankful to Anita Kelly for the care that they took in introducing me to a non-binary character and what that intimacy would look like, because I feel like I didn't know before.
This was educational for me.
I don't even know that I would have ever known had I not read this book.
And I've been in the community for a while, but this was education for me. I didn't know, like, there was things I wasn't aware of. You know, like the low dosing of the tea, the consent thing, right? Yeah. I didn't think about that, especially from London's perspective and how much London has gone through.
Right.
That was work, and I mean that was progress for London, so it was impressive.
Listen, people deserve orgasms. It doesn't matter if they're men, women, non-binary. They deserve orgasms.
Or socks.
So talk to your partner so that they can get off.
Seriously.
That's all I can say.
It's seriously, yeah. Just be honest.
And
be
to our friend,
how far it goes.
To our friend Nikki Payne, who talked to us about how women deserve orgasms in books. We see you, girl.
We see you.
We see you. And this book had lots of orgasms.
Nikki, if you're listening, just go read this one.
Read this one, Nikki. And then also, just don't forget about us when your new one comes out, because we want to read that one too.
How about this?
How about this? Oh my gosh, she's amazing. Okay,
so next week?
You want to talk, huh?
Let's talk about next week.
Let's talk about next week. All right, so next week is our last week for Pride and our last episode of the season. We are going to be reading Loveless by Alice Oseman, and she is the author of the Heartbreaker series, the graphic novel series that's been made into a show on Netflix. I love that graphic novel series a lot, so I'm really excited to read one of her novels. So that'll be next week, and then that will be the end of season 4. Molly, fuck.
2 years, babe. 2 in the pocket.
Fucking years.
I'm tired. I bet you are too.
But hey, we appreciate people listening. So
we love you guys. We really love you guys.
Yeah, we do.
But read a book a week with us. Huh?
It's a lot. All right, that's all I got. See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Book Besties. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The views discussed here are those of Molly and April, not those of anyone else. Today's book was Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. Your Book Besties are Molly Biggs and April Watkins, editing by Thomas Watkins, and music is Sleep Sweetly by Pritchida. Don't forget to follow the Book Besties on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you'd like to contact the Book Besties, please email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com or visit our website, bookbestiespodcast.com. Until next time, besties, get lost in your favorite book.